You want to introduce your husband?
I will. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody for coming out tonight. And Charles has worked up a little thing on budgeting for us. This is my husband, Charles Ogle. He was in the education system for 42 years, and most of that time he was spent teaching economics and personal finance. And more than once, I've had a mother of a student or a student come up to me and say, I am so glad I took your husband's course because I am debt-free, or it helped me buy my house, it helped me with my car. So it's very helpful. Maybe I'll learn something tonight because we don't always get on the same page with spending skills. I usually say, here, you take care of it. But anyway, Charles Ogle.
Okay. If you will, Judy, pass these 3 sheets out. Okay. Well, as I was introduced, I'm Charles Ogle, so don't get up and leave. Stay here. As Judy was saying, I've taught school 42 years. The last 22 of that was at Seymour High School teaching economics and personal finance, Appalachian studies. Got my start down in Polk County teaching elementary school at Turtletown Elementary School. I've been living in Seymour community now almost for 68 years, so I guess I'm considered local probably by that definition. I'm here to talk about budgets tonight, not investing, nothing exciting, just budgets, personal household budgets. But there's a problem. Budgets are not exciting. They're not fun. I mean, think, if you will, back to the 1940s, the films. Think about a guy in a suit or an overcoat with a fedora, goes into a bar, walks in, there's a girl at the bar, he walks over, sits down, says, hey, doll, let's go make a budget. Never happens. Never happens. Never. Or maybe a romantic comedy or a romantic movie, and the lights are dimmed, and you have 2 people at the table, candlelight, 2 little glasses of wine, and one leans over and says to the other, let's talk about revenues and expenditures. No, never happens. Never happens, because budgets are not exciting at all. They're not fun. They're not popular. They're not cool. They can be time consuming at first, but once you get one going, it's not too hard to keep up with. And they can remove problems and anxiety from your life. So why not do a budget? So why do one? Well, number one, it's a spending plan. A lot of guys especially go like, I don't want to do a budget. What I don't want to do a budget for? I don't want anybody telling me how not to spend my money. Well, you're spending your money. A budget is done so that you know where every single dollar goes. It's to help keep account of your money. It is a spending plan. A spending plan. It helps to reduce stress, helps you manage your money. And that managing the money also, at the bottom of there says, helps bring one to a sense of reality. When you start looking at needs and wants and start looking at your money and where it goes, you really get your eyes open quite widely. And another thing, up to 40% of divorces list money issues as one reason for divorce. Speaking of anxiety and reality, and I found this little tidbit the other day. In today's world, 54% of the people think that debt is a good reason for divorce. That kind of shocked me, that debt is a reason to divorce someone. So, money problems can be solved by budgeting. One thing you have to do before you really budget is you have to think about needs and wants. You need to think about your money. But the one best way to do that is, as someone just mentioned tonight, goal setting is important. It may sound silly, it may sound time consuming, but to set goals so you know where you're going. And you do it whether you realize it or not. You make plans. Those plans are actually goals. But what kind of goals do you set? Do you set regular goals or do you set SMART goals? SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. If you don't get that specific with your goal, you might not reach it. I want to buy a new car, or I want to save money for a down payment for a car. That's my goal. Well, how are you going to do it? How much money are you going to save? How long is it going to take? What kind of car are you going to get? There's all those questions there. So if you have questions that your goal doesn't answer, you don't have a SMART goal. So SMART goals help you with your budget. And you just think about that even before I think you start doing a budget. Also, goals, they're the time length. They're short-term and long-term. And you can go online and look. And there's sometimes some people say they're short-term, mid-term, long-term. And then there's one that had 5 different levels of time. And I thought, that's ridiculous. Short-term is less than a year. Long-term is more than a year. And so I think that's the best way to look at your goals, short-term and long-term. Less than a year, more than a year. Tracking your expenditures, to me, personally, I thought that was the hardest thing to do. Now, tracking your revenue, if you're like most of us, you got a check coming in, 1 or 2 incomes coming in, and that's it. That's no big deal. When you work on your budget, you got to remember you're dealing with your gross income after taxes. But expenditures, that's where it takes time. Do you know where your money goes? Do you know where you spend it? It trickles away. Oh, the big stuff, it happens, and you know about that. But when Judy and I first started doing a budget years ago, I said, we are $10 and $20 ourselves to death. You drop $10 and $20 here, there, and pretty soon, in a month's time, it's gone. It's gone. Same thing with us, like eating out. Fast food is cheap. Well, today's economy's changed a little bit, but you know, you go to fast food, you spend anywhere from $5 to $10. You do that a couple of times a week. In 4 weeks' time, you've got $40, $50, $60 gone like that. So it's easy to lose track. So expenditures, know where you're putting your money at. Some people will keep their receipts for the month and then total them up. Where did I spend money at? Some people will write it down in a little notebook, but you need to figure it out. You need to figure it out. So after you get your revenue and expenditures laid out, you need to think about, well, what are my basic needs? That's the first thing you got to take care of. Dave Ramsey talks about the 4 walls. 4 walls hold up a house. The 4 walls. What are our basic needs? We have what? Food, shelter, transportation. A few years ago, transportation wasn't mentioned. I think that's an important one. They mentioned utilities. He mentions food, shelter, utilities, and transportation. But see, I think there's something a little bit wrong with that, because as I put in my next slide, I think you should combine shelter and utilities and add clothing, because public nudity is against the law. And I think you could put shelter and utility together, right? Because your shelter is your home. You're renting, and you're going to pay utilities on that. So those should go together. So I think food, shelter, utilities, transportation, and clothing are the 4 walls. It's what I would think about. And if you also put some thought into it, a lot of people, clothing is essential to what they do. Not necessarily white-collar jobs. You might wear a tie to work every day, but there are people out there working jobs that their boots are as expensive as a pair of dress slacks and a dress shirt and a tie. So clothing for all levels, important. So you need to think about those things. You've got those papers there, and there's different categories, line items, and if you can look online and find these. A matter of fact, all of those came from online. The easiest one to get to and the quickest would be I think it's this one. It's consumer.gov, a little budget worksheet. And there's different categories. But when you start looking at those, they don't fit you exactly. There's categories there that you don't have in your situation, in your life, in your household. So I would get 2 or 3 of those, look at them, and I would make my own. If I didn't know how to work an Excel sheet, I would find a friend and I would develop my own budget sheet and print it off. Now, I love paper and pencil. Some people love technology, and that's fine. That's good. There was even a website that Judy was on the other night, and you could just type everything in and put the money in, and it kept count of it and everything. But, then the dog walks up and does something, or the cat walks on top of the laptop, or if you have kids, and if you have young children, they spill something on the laptop. And if you're like me, you do something wrong, you hit the wrong button, and you lose everything. It's easier to rip a piece of paper off a legal pad and crunch it up and throw it than it is to pick your laptop up and throw it. One is cheaper than the other. So I like pencil and paper. Besides that, if the power goes out, if you got a candle, you can still work with pencil and paper. So how much do I put into housing and groceries and on all those things? Some of it depends on how much money that you make. Your income does matter as to what you do with your budget. But a rule of thumb years ago was, when I was first teaching this, that on your housing, 30% of your total budget should go to housing. Well, today, I don't know if that'd work or not, because how much it costs with housing today. But some plans that are out there, some people who do financial planning say there's a 50-30-20 plan. 50% goes into your needs. 50% goes in the needs. This one I don't care for. 30% goes into your wants and 20% goes into your savings. That seems like that person is a little off the mark on that one. But then the other one is 75-15-10, 75% needs, 15% savings, and 10% giving. Now, most good financial planners will tell you, once you get your budget set, once you get your debt taken care of, get your debt down, you should look at giving, whether you do it through your local church, local charities, or whatever, but that will help you be part of your community, take part in your community, and make you just a little bit a better person if you can give to others. Share what you have, because everyone don't have as much as you do. There's other plans out there. I just kind of like put it down. Here's what I got coming in. Here's what I got going out, and fix this. But it's very important. The number one thing you do is you get the 4 walls taken care of first. You do the fixed expenses. And then you have flexible expenses. And I call these sometimes variable fixed. For example, groceries. Most of the time, your groceries are about the same every week for the most part. But then, Thanksgiving and in December, your grocery bill goes up. You got to plan for that. Also, utilities, your electric bill. Your electric bill, if you have a heat pump and electric heat, you know that in the summertime, that bill goes up because you're cooling the house a little bit more. It takes more to cool the house. So your bill goes up. And you have a month or two in the winter that the price goes up a little bit. And even the rest of the months tend to just bounce up and down a little bit. But usually November, December, maybe January, and then a summer month there, they go way up. So you need to look at that. So that's why you keep looking at your budget over and over again. And what you do is that you think about, well, come January, that electric bill is going to be a lot higher. Got the lights on for Christmas and all that stuff. So you just put a little extra in savings that month to cover that bill for later. Discretionary would be basically your wants, not your needs. And sometimes in discretionary, that's where people get depressed, because I want to do this, but a budget hopefully matures you, and sometimes you have to learn to do without. And you say, well, life's not fair. Life's not. I had a sign on my bulletin board, my chalkboard and a whiteboard at school that said, life isn't fair. And a young man who graduated was walking out of the administration building of the college he went to in South Carolina. And he said, I was depressed and upset, and I was walking down that sidewalk, and I turned and was walking in front of the administration building. He said, it just hit me. He said, Mr. Ogle, your sign, life isn't fair, just boom, just came up in my head. And I said, it's not fair. I guess I'm just going to have to deal with it and go on. And I'd also tell the kids that fair is a place that hogs win ribbons. And that's the truth. Fair, sorry, life's not fair. So those discretionary, those wants, and hopefully once you get a budget, you work it, and once again, you get some debts paid down in things, you can put some things in discretionary and do it. And most good financial planners will tell you when you can put some, I think Dave Ramsey might have called it blow money, I can't remember. You have to be able to enjoy. So when you're younger and you're trying to get these budgets done and everything, and you're not making as much money as you will probably later, you try to find things that are mainly free. And you can still do that today. There are things you can go to that are free and have a little fun and get out of the house and not have to spend money on. So your wants can kill you. They really can. So budgets, trial and error. There's no one set way to do it because every person here, every person that might see this, we're all individuals and every budget is individual. I will say this though, on the bottom here of the slide, it says find someone to hold you accountable. You're going to have somebody see this. Now, if you are a couple with someone, married couple or whatever the situation is today, one of you all will be better at doing a budget than the other person. Dave Ramsey talks about the nerd and the person that's just, happy-go-lucky. So the nerd needs to do the budget, but the happy-go-lucky person has to agree to it and has to buy into it or it won't work. The only thing is if you're single, and a lot of kids at school will talk about, well, what if you're single? You find a parent if your parents are good with money, but if your parents aren't good with money, don't let your parent do it. Or your grandparent, or you might have an aunt or uncle, you might have a cousin, maybe a friend that can help you, hold you accountable, find someone who does have good money sense and let them help you with it and hold you accountable to it. Zero-based budgeting is, some people don't do this. Dave Ramsey talks about it, others do. Your income minus your outgo equals zero. That means you know where everything goes. So you take money and you be sure you put money into savings. You put money in for fun. You put money in for this. Every dollar goes someplace to where at the end of it, the incoming money and all the outgoing money, when you subtract them, it equals zero. You know where every dollar's gone then. Doesn't mean the next month you can't transfer things around, but needs to be a zero-based budget. I think that's very important. And I don't know if I'm going to be seen in the streaming on this, but Murphy repellent. I'm going to borrow from Dave Ramsey on this one because it's true. Emergencies, they bust the budget every time because nobody plans for emergencies. They're never going to happen. Tires will never go bald. Your roof will never leak. Cars never need to be repaired. And the one I like is like, the people here can see me maybe, but you're at the dinner table and your children walk up and say, Mom, Dad, school's about to start and I need clothes. I can't wear these anymore. And Dad goes, it's an emergency. We have to get the credit card out and buy clothes for the children. Who knew they would grow? Everybody but Dad. Everybody but Dad. So you plan for the children to grow and you buy clothes. You trade clothes with other families. You do things like that. You save money back for tires. It's going to happen. anywhere from 2 to 4 years, you have to have tires for your car. Or a friend of mine used to trade cars so often he never bought tires. So you could do that. That's not smart either. But budgets are Murphy repellent. It takes away the emergencies. I had a personal thing that happened to me, and it shocked me a little bit when we started doing budgets and saving money. And if you can say, well, I want to get a new flat screen television. And this is many years ago, and you'll know by the price. And so I started saving back every month for a flat screen 43-inch Sony Bravia at Walmart. So I went down and bought a 43-inch Sony Bravia. With tax, it was over $900. So that's been a few years ago. The same thing today would cost $200. And so the guys went back in the back to get it and brought it out. And the guy rang it up and he says, $900 and whatever. I took out an envelope that I had saved my money in, and I counted out. I counted $1,000. I had some hundreds in there. I counted $1,000 and got my change back. And the two guys said, "What'd you do, rob a bank?" I said, "It looked like maybe I did, but no, I actually saved my money for this. I saved for many, many months to buy this television." And they just looked shocked. Of course, their income working at Walmart, they might not be able to save money like that, but still, it might not be an object that big, it costs that much, but you can still, on almost any income, put money back and save for things instead of putting it on a credit card or borrowing money from somebody and creating a family problem, which they do sometimes. Dave Ramsey said when you borrow money from family at Thanksgiving, it makes the turkey go down real hard, and it does. So, how do you get started? Just start. Just do it. Find a book, and I think someone pulled some books over here. There's books on Dave Ramsey. There's another, Susie Orsman. Is that the right way to pronounce her name? And there's other people that have books, and you can find things online, consumer.gov, nerdwallet.com. There's budget forms and templates online. There's all sorts of people. Even sometimes your local, not 4-H, my mind just went blank. The extension office can help with things like this sometimes. They even have programs. I think they have programs to help with budgeting and stuff sometimes. And if you ask them, they'll do programs like that. There's all kind of help out there. You just got to look for it. And the best thing is to just do it. Just get started and just do it. So I don't know if you have any questions. That's you on the left side, and that's me on the right side. So I don't know if you have any questions or not, but I'll be happy to help you if you do. Budgeting is one of the simplest things you can do to get yourself on track with your personal finances. It really is. It's not hard. It's just time consuming, and it's something that you got to stick with. But I guarantee you, anywhere in 3 to 6 months, you'll be going like, "Oh, yep, it's good," and that's it. 5-10 minutes, and you're set. First several months will be kind of rough, but other than that, it's good. Yes, sir.
At what age do you recommend beginning to train children about how to use and manage money?
One of the first things you can do is with a child preschool, give them little chores to do, and give them quarters, dimes, nickels, pennies, things like that. It doesn't work if you use dollar bills. And then have a jar and put money in the jar. And then when it gets so, like a quart jar, when it gets so full, say, "Let's count your money," and pour it out, count it, and they may have a couple of dollars or whatever. Put it back in, take a black Sharpie and draw a line and put how much money is there. And then add more money to it as they work and do more things, and it gets bigger in the jar. Pour it out, count it, and then put it back in and draw another line, and the money amounts more. And they'll get it in their head that as you put more money in the jar, that it gets to be more and more money. And, well, what would you like to get with this? Well, this. Well, it's going to cost that much money. Are we close? I don't think so. You keep putting it in there, and they get an idea of what savings is for. That's for preschoolers. High schoolers, even though they might not have a job, they can still do a simple budget with money they get for birthdays, odd jobs, Christmas, and things like that. And they can learn to save and do things. I hate to be anti-American here, anti-capitalist, but I think we do some kids a lot of harm in saying, like, you want a car, you buy it yourself. And kids get out there and they work. During the school year, they work. And they'll work till 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. Then they drive home. They're home by 10:30, 11. And some of them are driven academically also, so they'll be sure their work is done. So they're getting in bed at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. They get to school, they're grumpy, they're hateful, they fall asleep in class. And I would tell them, I said, you're just like a 40-year-old man who's got 3 kids. What's wrong with you? You're 17 years old. You should be having fun right now. So our daughters worked in the summers. And they did little odd jobs like they babysit and stuff, but they didn't work during the school year, but they worked in summers and saved their money. And but I think we're doing the kids a big injustice letting them work like that and be so tired when they didn't enjoy their teenage years. They got long enough to work and do all that stuff. But you can still teach financial responsibility if they work in the summer times. But definitely high school kids can do a simple budget. There's one I did not run off. It was called a budget under 30. It's just one sheet. Dependent upon, and some kids can work over the weekends, and not during the school week, but during the weekends. And if you can get them to and from work, and they can do that. So, but you can start with preschoolers on the savings, and you can do savings with older students too. And if they have an income coming in, you can work with them on budgeting also, but that's like 16. So, anybody else? Okay, well, thank you.
Well, I sure can tell why my grandsons loved your class.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, ma'am.
I intend to share this with my son. The last time I saw him, now both my children are grown.
Yes.
And have children. My daughter is a great money manager. My son is not.
Yeah.
He has a great income. And the last time I saw him, he said, "Mama, I gotta get a handle on it. I'm living paycheck to paycheck."
Yes. Yes.
You know what I told him?
What?
Remember the last time you got in trouble, where did you go? He said, "You sent me to Dave Ramsey." And I said, "There's another copy."
Yeah.
I'm not bailing you out.
Dave Ramsey is good. He says not to have a credit card. And some people have trouble with credit cards. You have to pay those off every month. You have one. And Greg Anderson and I have talked about, Truist credit cards and things. And with Truist, if you have some accounts there and had it for a while, if you turn the money in, your cash reward, and put it into your checking account, you get extra money back besides the 1.5%, 2%, whatever you get on using your credit card. You actually get more when you put it back into your checking account. So we have a credit card that we use for gas and groceries. You're going to buy gas and groceries. You have to. And I pay it off at the end of the month every month. And then come December, I put the money into the savings account. We have it for Christmas. Yeah. So, but one credit card, if you get started later, you might end up with more than one credit card. Don't ever just call and cancel the card, because it will take your credit score down for a short period of time. Just let it run without using it, and eventually just go dormant.
Well, what we found is we use credit cards for almost all purposes.
Yeah.
But what we'll do is we will take we refer to as a little check into receipts, and we enter those into the checkbook, because if we've written a check for that amount,
Yeah.
we subtract it from our balance.
So you know what's there.
So we know what's there, and then it makes it easy when the bill comes in.
Mm-hmm.
We just verify that we have deducted everything we've spent, write the check.
Yep.
And it's just it's an easy way to keep yourself from getting into
Yes.
a negative expense.
And with the rewards and stuff on credit cards today, if you use them wisely, you can help yourself out quite a bit. So, and I have nothing against using credit cards for fixed expenses, and you know how easy it is to, just put that back in there because you've already planned for it. You've already planned for it. And I just don't like using debit cards online or over the phone. I don't like using debit cards to hold a motel room because a debit card, they pull all the money out then. Credit card, they'll hold the room. And when you get there, if you want to pay cash for it, you can. Or you can put it on the credit card. But if you use a debit card, it all comes out then.
And if you use a debit card like at your gas station, it will take out, say, $75 to $100.
Yes.
And block that.
Yes.
It may take 3 days to get the balance put back in, regardless of what you've actually spent.
I was panicking the other day because I looked at my credit card statement on the app, and it said Pilot, $151. And I thought, I didn't spend $151 at Pilot. And so I called and got a hold of someone there, and I was talking to the person it was my Truist gas and grocery card. And I said, I didn't spend that much money there. Well, wait a minute, sir. Click, click, click. Okay, so that's their hold amount that they put on there to be sure the card is a viable card. I said, are you kidding me? $151? That's what the Pilot in Crossville off the interstate charged. Well, I mean, it wiped off, but still, it shocked me to see that $151. I knew they did that. And I have seen 20, 25, 50, but I've never seen 151. And that's why it kind of shocked me. Yeah. Yeah. And credit cards are good because, better than debit cards, because one time we went to Chattanooga. Our youngest daughter was in the All East thing for choir, chorus. And of course she wants the t-shirt, and of course she wants the trophy and plaque and all that. So we get it. Well, we get home, and that was on a weekend. So around Tuesday, I get a phone call. Hello, this is Charles Ogle. Yes, it is. Well, we're with your credit card company, and you've never used your card outside the state of Tennessee, and we see a charge for Texas. Have you been to Texas recently? I said, no, I've not been to Texas. What was the amount? And she told me. I thought, well, that sounds familiar, but what was it? She looked again. She said, something trophy company. I said, we were in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And she said, okay. And I told her, and she said, yes, that's exactly what's here, a trophy, a t-shirt, and something else. And she said, that's exactly what it is. She said the company was there, and they used the phone, swapped the phone, but it registered as Texas, a sale in Texas. So that kind of freaked me out. So, and credit card, a good credit card company will do that. When we were talking about credit cards in class one day, boy raised his hand and said, yeah, it happened to me when I was getting ready to go to the prom last year. And I said, you're a senior this year? He says, yeah, but this girl wanted me to go with her last year, so I went. And he told his dad, said, Dad, I got to have a tux. Here, take my credit card and go get a tux. And West Town, he went to West Town and got a tux. His dad got a phone call. Said, has your card been stolen? He says, I don't think so. Well, there's a charge on here for $100 and something. He said, well, where's it at? And it was something. It was the tuxedo company down there at the West Town Mall. My son got that. What'd you call me for? Well, sir, you realize your card has never been used but anything for hunting and fishing, and that's it. And when it saw a tuxedo charge on it, they called him. So, and as nice as they've been to me down at the bank, banks don't do that with your debit card, but credit card company will. So I think a credit card's a good thing to have if you use it wisely and pay it off. But I've had a lot of kids come back and say to me that they wish they'd paid more attention because they are having some financial problems. And I said, well, just go online and look for stuff. It's not hard to do. Just get started with it. And you can let it get out of hand. I did tell the kids, and I'll shut up after this. I said, some of you all, let's just be honest. They're high school kids. They know more. People think you have to be so delicate with these kids, and you don't really. I said, you know how things work. There's a hierarchy. There's people up here, and they're the captain of this, and they're all the cool people, and all the cheerleaders and everything. Then you got your people here, and you got some regular people, and then there's people that don't really care. I said, some of you people down in the middle down here, just regular good old people. I said, you're going to come back to class reunion sometime, there's going to be one of these people drive up in a Lexus. It's going to be shiny and everything. You're going to drive up in your Chevrolet or Ford. And if we could take their personal finances, and if you do what we've talked about doing in here, your personal finances will be better off than theirs will. They got a big shiny car, got a big old house, but they don't own any of it, and they're in debt to past their eyeballs. You are not. I said, you're going to be better off heading to retirement than they are. So, and some of them take that to heart, you know, and so we don't think about the future. A lot of times we just think that, yeah, it won't happen to me. You turn around, you're 68 years old.
Well, you're not 68.
Well, a few months I will be. So, well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.